Hey everyone, it's Don with Don's Field of Dreams Cards, coming to you tonight with episode number 2 of Negro Leagues to the Major Leagues. Players who started their careers in the Negro Leagues but were fortunate enough to get the opportunity to play in the Major Leagues. A little bit of time between episode 1 and 2, longer than I would have liked, but it does take a while to research these players, and as y'all know, I had some things going on personally, but now we're all past that, and we're on to the next episode here. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a ton of information on Harry Simpson's Negro League career. And as I said before, that's kind of common with the guys that played the majority of their career in the major leagues. But did find out quite a bit of history on him. So let's get on to Harry Simpson. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia on December 3rd, 1925. Although many accounts listed as being 1923 or 24, which is quite common back then. Guys tried to make themselves seem younger, so they were more attractive to teams. And the town was actually called Dalton, Georgia, and it was a carpet manufacturing city in the northern part of the state. And Harry's nickname as a kid was called Goody because of his kind disposition and willingness to help. You'll see later on this video, he's more known for another nickname. He did serve in the United States Army during World War II. And when he got out of the Army, he started his career with the Philadelphia Stars in 1946 and hit .333 in limited action with 3 homers and only 51 at-bats. The next year, while getting more playing time, his average dropped to .244, unfortunately. But he showed good speed and proved to be a capable fielder. He picked up his nickname that he was more known for in the Negro Leagues. Harry wore a size 13 shoe, and his sports writer dubbed him Suitcase Simpson, based on a character by the name with feet as large as suitcases in the comic strip Toonerville Trolley Folks, which in the beginning of this video, there's a cartoon there, and that's where that came from. The manager of the Philadelphia Stars, Goose Curry, signed Simpson to his team in 1946, and he was originally a right-handed pitcher before being moved to the outfield. And as I said before, with the Stars in 1947, his average slipped to .244, and Simpson was dejected, and he started to second-guess himself about his career choice. Life in the Negro Leagues was hard, and Simpson became discouraged. So he actually left the Stars and got a sales job outside of baseball. And his wife, Johnny, convinced Harry that his future was in baseball. She pleaded with him to return to the diamond, and he abided by her wishes and did so. Simpson later recalled saying it was a tough life in the old Negro Leagues. Sometimes you'd play in 5 cities and 5 nights and never see a bed. We thought nothing of playing 3 games in the same day. Also went on to say we never had a trainer. You carried your own liniment. I don't know if that was an oil or ointment or what that was, and you rubbed it on wherever you hurt. But he said, besides the tough life, there were great players in the Negro Leagues. And Simpson recalled Josh Gibson as the greatest hitter he ever saw. Although he was dying when he saw him that last year, and said, Josh Gibson couldn't even stoop down behind the plate, but man, he could still hit. Then in 1948, Simpson caught the eye of NBA coach Eddie Gottlieb, who also doubled as an official baseball scout. And I think we found that happened with George Crow to the video before. So I guess there was a common crossover between NBA scouts and baseball scouts back then. And Gottlieb was greatly impressed. Again, calling him the tan Ted Williams, making a comparison to the slugging Boston Red Sox star. He said he was built like Ted, he was faster, and he could field much better. Gottlieb said, I'm not going to say that he will hit better than Ted, but he has a chance, which he obviously never did. But so based on the glowing recommendations of Gottlieb, 8 Major League scouts offered Harry Simpson a tryout, and all declined the opportunity to sign him. And at Gottlieb's expense, he financed a trip to Arizona for Simpson to get a look and see by the Cleveland Indians general manager, who at the time was Hank Greenberg. Did not realize Hank was a general manager. And the Indians were also owned by Bill Veeck, who had signed Larry Doby, the first black player in the American League, and actually were one of the first teams to scout and sign black players. And during a split squad game, Harry went 4 for 4, including 2 home runs, and Greenberg immediately hustled to sign Gottlieb's protege. So on April 21st, 1951, the 4th game of the 51 season, 25-year-old Simpson made his major league debut for the Indians. And as many of these rookies do, they entered the game as a pinch hitter in the bottom of the eighth. And that made him the 16th black player in Major League Baseball, and this would begin an 8-year, 5-team, almost 900-game career. And the Indians really had high expectations for him, with Simpson and Larry Doby in the outfield and Luke Easter at first base. It was actually the only American League team to have African Americans as part of its everyday lineup between 1951 and 53. And that year, when it came time to trim the roster, Greenberg actually decided to stay with Simpson and traded Minnie Minoso to the Chicago White Sox. And Harry had hit over 400 during spring training. We're excited for a big year. But once the season started, he had 332 at-bats. He only hit 229, while only driving in 24 runs. And he split his time between the outfield and first base. And there was pressure on him because Minoso went on, as y'all know, to be a star with the White Sox and did not end up being a great trade for them. So in 1952, Harry was determined to find himself, and he attended a pre-spring training batting school conducted by Tris Speaker, the ex-Indian great. And Speaker remarked that Simpson's got to find his own way. And then Simpson located an article authored by Ty Cobb on the subject of hitting, and says, when in a slump, Cobb concentrated on only one thing, hitting the ball back at the pitcher. And Simpson tried this, abandoning the power stroke he used in the Pacific Coast League when he was in the minor leagues. And Simpson was known to say, might as well face it, I'm not strong enough. Out there in the Pacific League, a man hits a ball 360 feet and he has himself a home run. Up here, he just got himself a big out. So actually skipping 53 and 54, there wasn't anything really remarkable. Still with the Indians. And then in the spring training in 1955, the Indians acquired Ralph Kiner. So that proved that there was no longer room in the Indians roster for the trim outfielder Simpson. So he was sold to the Kansas City Athletics. And when he reported the A's manager Lou Boudreau recommending return to his original loose stance, spraying the ball at all fields. And that relaxed approach plus a lot of playing time produced really good results. And he ended up having a 301 average, making him a fan favorite. And he also played all three positions of the outfield as well as first base. 1956 actually was a banner year for Simpson. He hit 293, 21 home runs, 105 RBIs. He was made the All-Star team. And Yankees manager Casey Stengel took note of his long, smooth stride in the outfield and strong throwing arm, and actually called him the best right fielder in the league. And then on June 24th, Simpson became a bit of a folk hero by hitting a homer onto Brooklyn Avenue outside of Kansas City's Municipal Stadium. And the ballpark, I guess it had a concrete wall atop a 40-inch high embankment instead in right field. I guess making it appear possible to ever hit one on the other side. And it was said a barnstorming Babe Ruth even had trouble hitting the target during exhibition games. And Simpson accomplished the feat on a pitch served up by Dick Sisler of the Red Sox. So in 1957, Simpson was traded to the Yankees, and it was actually after an aftermath of a brawl at the Copacabana nightclub, or Copacabana, in New York City, involving some of the Yankee players. And Simpson was hitting 296 when he was traded to the Yankees on June 15th, along with pitcher Ryan Doran and outfitter Jim Pizzoni. And a couple of these names you might recognize they got traded for. One was infielder Billy Martin, who was involved in that fight, pitcher Ralph Terry, and then an infielder outfielder named Woody Held, and another outfielder, Bob Martin. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And the consensus was the A's got the better part of the deal. And Simpson was initially pleased to become a Yankee, but he really became to regret that he was traded to them. He said, the worst break I ever got was being traded to the Yankees. He said later he sensed something was wrong upon reporting the Yankee clubhouse and meeting Casey Stengel. I introduced myself to Casey, Simpson recalled. He didn't say he was glad to have me or anything else. Instead, he started talking about how he hated to lose Billy Martin. It made me a little funny. Then on June 15th, 1958, the Yankees traded him back to Kansas City. Then skipping a year ahead, May 2nd, 1959. Even though he was hitting a solid 286, the A's sent him to the White Sox in exchange for infielder Ray Boone. And the White Sox owner Bill Veeck and his general manager Hank Greenberg, who again didn't know that Hank Greenberg was now a general manager of another team, They had signed Simpson to his first major league contract, and they were, of course, very familiar with him. But Simpson struggled in Chicago, hit 187 in 38 games, and was traded to my Pittsburgh Pirates for slugging infielder Ted Kluszewski, who I think most of you are familiar with. And Simpson actually only played 9 games with the Pirates. He hit 267 and 15 at bats, and Big Clue hit 297 the balance of the White Sox season and the World Series that year. And after what they called the hoopla was over, the White Sox eventually brought Simpson back from the Pirates, or bought, not brought. And they said Simpson was the unluckiest player in all Major League Baseball during 1959. His timing in and out of Chicago cost him a World Series check. So he did play up until 1959, and he spent a few more years in the minor leagues and might have even played with the Indianapolis Clowns. It just said Indianapolis, so I couldn't quite figure out which team that was with. But in his later years, Harry Simpson criticized any player who didn't give 100%, especially black players who didn't hustle. He was known to say, the important thing, as I see it, is that I, as a Negro, have been given a great privilege, and I just wish all members of my race felt the same deep gratitude as I do, he once said. Here I am making more money than a great percentage of the men of my race. Here I am on a ball club where I've been given every chance in the world to make good. What more could I possibly want? I live as good as anybody could. I get a good salary. I have a good job. Baseball has given this to me. Where could I have gotten all this? In what other profession could I have been given the same chance? Simpson ended up moving to Akron, Ohio in 1959, and he worked as a machinist at a Goodyear Aerospace factory from 1967 until he retired in 1976. He ended up suffering a heart attack and died on April 3rd, 1979. It says his services were held at the New Trinity Baptist Church, where Harry was a deacon, and he's buried at West Hill Cemetery in Dalton, Georgia. So again, guys, not as much Negro League information as I would like to provide, but still just great learning about another player who had the opportunity to play in the Negro Leagues and the Major Leagues. So as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I appreciate you guys watching my channel. Take care.